Hi there, I'm Dr. Funke Afolabi Brown. I'm the founder of Restful Sleep MD. So you may have heard this before, that what we think about affects how we feel and subsequently affects our behaviors. And believe it or not, this actually applies to our sleep. And so today we're going to be talking about how to adopt helpful thoughts about our sleep. Now, when we talk about insomnia, that is when you have difficulty falling asleep, staying asleep, or waking up early. And this is a condition that's really common in women. Really, about 30% of Americans report that they suffer from insomnia at some point in their lifetime. And one of the fundamental ways by which we treat insomnia is through a treatment called cognitive behavioral therapy to insomnia. So if you've ever been worked with a therapist, you may have heard about cognitive behavioral therapy, and that's really talking about how to address root causes of a problem by really looking at your thought patterns regarding that issue. And so the same thing applies to our sleep. So an example I'll give you is you have a thought, I'm not going to sleep tonight. So you're already in bed. I'm not going to sleep tonight. That's the thought that comes up in your mind because you suddenly feel like you're not really sleeping. How do you start to feel? You may start to feel frustrated. You may start to feel angry. You may start to have those feelings of just real overwhelm because you've been here before. And then another thought may come up and say things like, this always happens to me. I don't know why I can't sleep. And, again, we get into this spiral, which then results in certain behaviors. In that situation, the behavior could be something like you start tossing and turning, you suddenly start to feel restless, or you get up and you turn on the TV, or you get up and drink maybe some alcohol or take a sleeping pill because of that feeling of overwhelm you're experiencing. And then you come back and you try harder and harder and harder to sleep. So that's the behavior that came from a thought of, I'm not going to sleep tonight. Now, think of this like an old record that just keeps playing again, and again, because the more you try, the harder sleep is to attain. And the important thing we then need to do to move forward is to sort of break that cycle. Because one thing that we know that happens with people with insomnia is, again, those thoughts will spiral and then they start to catastrophize. When I say catastrophize, it's really like, what is the worst case scenario? So I can't sleep. Oh my goodness, I'm not going to be able to wake up in time tomorrow. I'm going to be late for work. And then I'm going to get fired from the job. I'm not going to be able to pay my bills or my rent. I'm going to get kicked out of my apartment and I'm going to be homeless. So it's really coming from I can't sleep and then taking it all the way. And then you can imagine all those thoughts are only going to create more negative emotions. So how do we move forward? How do we then move forward from that thought pattern and adopt healthy sleep thoughts or healthy thoughts that would help our sleep? One, I think the first thing is to debunk the myths. Really start from a place of challenging those thoughts. Like, where is this coming from? So example of some of the other thoughts that people have is, if I don't sleep 8 hours, I'm just useless the rest of the day. Where are those thoughts coming from? Challenging those myths. And I'm here to debunk that myth, to let you know that not everybody needs 8 hours of sleep. People need 7, people need 9. Some people need less. So sleep is such a personal thing that you may be coming from a place of hearing that you need 8 hours of sleep that now becomes that part of your thought pattern that you're not going to be able to function. So debunk that myth and say, well, it turns out I don't need 8 hours. I may need less. I may potentially need more. But at this point, it's not a rule of law that I get 8 hours before I sleep. And then another thought you could have is, I need to try different hacks to sleep. That's a myth. Some people talk about, oh yes, if you don't practice sleep hygiene, you're never going to sleep. I can tell you a lot of people with insomnia are really experts at doing all the sleep hygiene techniques and things, and they may still have a hard time, because then it becomes this like work and this effort they need to put in to achieve sleep. So that may be another myth that you would need to debunk. A third would be things like, something catastrophic is gonna happen tomorrow because I didn't sleep well. And then challenging it and saying, well, actually, people walk around chronically sleep deprived. And of course, while we know it's not ideal, they're able to get through. And so again, debunking that myth to say, what's the evidence? What's the evidence that all of a sudden after this one night of bad sleep, like the worst thing is going to happen? And really sort of taking that down several notches. And so debunking the myth is the first step, I would say, in terms of adopting a healthy habit or healthy thoughts towards your sleep. And that comes from really challenging those thoughts. Then the second is moving to a place of acceptance. Now, I'm not saying you become the victim and you're like, oh, woe is me, I'm not going to sleep well, I've just accepted it. But it's like, instead of trying to suppress the thoughts you're having, right, trying to force those thoughts out, which then becomes work, or, trying to just ignore them, which the more you try to ignore those thoughts, the more they come up. It's really then actively challenging and replacing them. So now you're in bed. Oh my goodness, I can't sleep. Replace those thoughts with, well, I've had days where I haven't slept well and I get through okay. It's almost like, yes, this is that amygdala, that lizard in our brain that's really in that fight or flight response, really saying, okay, I can acknowledge that you feel overwhelmed, that you're not sleeping, but we've had days, we've had nights where we've not slept well and things turned out okay. So really calming down that emotional part of your brain that seems really to be overwhelmed in addressing it. Another example I would say is, oh my goodness, my day is going to be horrible. I'm going to be, late to work, or work's going to be the worst, or I'm not going to be able to deliver at work, to saying, well, we've had some bad nights. We've had even nights where, we slept okay, but maybe because of some illness, I still wasn't able to be my best at work, but I did okay. You know what I mean? So I hope you get the idea. It's really taking those thoughts that seem to be so overinflated and really saying, okay, it's not the end of the world. Because again, that part of our brain is trying to just make things seem like they're, the worst case scenario. And then it's you saying, what is the evidence? It's not the end of the world. Sleep is important, but the fact that I have one night or a couple of nights where I don't sleep well doesn't mean my world is going to be over. So it's actively challenging and then replacing those thoughts rather than trying to ignore or suppress them. That is the key to adopting healthy thoughts related to your sleep. And then finally, what I recommend is avoiding engaging in safety behaviors. So what are safety behaviors? Safety behaviors are things that you might do to, keep you safe, right? So think about things like, if your thought pattern is, if I have a bad night, I'm going to be mean to my kids, I'm going to be mean at work. And so your safety behavior may be, I'm just going to try to avoid everybody. I'm just going to try to fly solo, for the rest of the day. Or if your safety behavior is, well, because I don't sleep well, I need to conserve my energy. And so because of that, your safety behavior is, I'm going to not go to the gym. I'm going to not take a walk because you're trying to conserve energy. So avoiding those safety behaviors which are responding to those thoughts and really still living your day, because actually, if you try to conserve your energy, say by taking a nap or by avoiding exercise, that makes it a little bit more challenging to be able to get sleep the next day. So avoiding safety behaviors as well in response to those unhelpful thoughts that you have towards your sleep. So I hope this has been helpful. So we really talked more about how to adopt healthy thoughts regarding your sleep if you have insomnia or difficulties with your sleep. One is really debunking the myths, challenging those thoughts. Where are they coming from? What's the origin? What's the evidence? Two is replacing those thoughts and moving to a place of acceptance to say, It is not catastrophic. And replacing those thoughts with healthier thoughts that are actually more logical. What's the evidence that your day is going to be, it's going to be the end of the world because you didn't have a night of good sleep. So again, really replacing those thoughts actively from a place of acceptance. And 3 is avoiding safety behaviors, which at the end of the day may make your sleep worse rather than better. So I hope this has been helpful. If it has, I would love it if you like this video, subscribe to my channel, as well as share this with other women in your circle. And if you are a busy mom who's out there trying to do everything, but you're having a hard time with your sleep, I would love for you to work with me. And so the best way would be to click the link in the comments to get onto my website and to schedule a time where we could sort of talk through this and see how I can help you sleep better. Until next time, I hope you rest well.